Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO. My special guest, like every Tuesday, he's here every Tuesday, so he's still special. The Sensei, Big Mike. For all those who are tuning in, we'd like to give you the greeting of the day, which is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to whatever time you're tuning in to our show. We thank you and we appreciate you. We go live every Tuesday and Sunday at 9 p.m. on Facebook, TikTok, StreamYard, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get started, I'd like to let everyone know these conversations that we have on here in this platform are for entertainment purposes only. And as a part of my introduction, I like to have something that I like to start off with called brass tacks. If you're familiar with what brass tacks are, if you're in the military or government, it's a way of me opening up the conversation and the floor tonight. So tonight, my brass tacks to you, my smarts, because you guys are the smarts. That's what we call you, the smarts. Be the best version of yourself. You are exactly where you need to be. Failure is not fatal. Moving on does not mean quitting. It means you choose happiness over hurt. The only person responsible for your happiness is you. Stop shrinking to fit into places you have outgrown. And lastly, freedom. And I say freedom. Freedom isn't the ability to say yes, it's the ability to say no. And with that, we are golden. Man, it's good to always be here and have these conversations with you. My good sir, how are you feeling?
Living the dream.
Man, living the dream, living the dream.
You have one choice in this world, and that is not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you.
Ooh.
So that's your choice. Look, you can have a pile of crap fall on your head. It doesn't matter if it falls on your head. So what? It happens to everybody. But it depends on how you react to it. That's
the power.
That's the power. You can say, oh, crap fell on my head. Or you say, you know what? Crap fell on my head, because that means I got a break between that crap and the next crap. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to thrive and survive.
Absolutely.
So it's all about choice. There's only one thing you have in this world. It's not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. That's the key to success in this world.
Love it, man. Love it, love it, love it. Did you, I know we were talking earlier. What did you think about that game?
I thought it was entertaining that the script was not followed.
You know what?
I also thought it was entertaining that the referees which were involved in the script were removed, and therefore a more accurate portrayal of the events occurred. Because once the script was taken out of play and the actors portraying the script were taken out of play, the true reality of the situation occurred. And that meant that the team that was the hungriest and wanted it the most won. And I believe that that's what occurred, because the actors, which were the bad actors, were pulled out. Once they were pulled out, the reality set in. And I believe that that's what occurred in that situation. I see it no more or no less than that. Because when it came down to brass tacks, the better teams showed their true colors in that situation. Because they weren't playing a two-team event against one. They were playing one against one. In that situation, they prevailed. They prevailed righteously. And therefore, I felt that was a righteous
turn of events.
Yeah. And it was a true depiction of what truly was supposed to happen. And if you thought anything else could happen, you were sadly mistaken. So that, look.
Listen, man, you can't have me cracking up. Right? Look, I'm curious. You got my face wet, man. Oh, man. Oh, that.
So that's what I thought about the game.
Listen, I was thinking this. I said, man, those writers,
They got sidelined. They
Yeah.
got sidelined.
Oh man.
Tell by the look on the face. When you see the look on the face, oh shit, the jig is up.
Yes.
Then the game was on. It was reality.
Oh,
And when the
boy.
team that never gets penalties suddenly started getting actual penalties, then you went, oh, that's what's going down. Yeah. We
Quiet.
on now.
Oh man, they were in tears like little babies.
Oh, I was like,
man,
here we
I
go.
didn't understand what happened. What's
I
going
can
on?
say, well, you can take that, and I will tell you this. Be very careful about what I get ready to tell you, and that is this. Draw the parallels between what happened
Mhm.
and what is happening.
Yes. Very.
Draw the parallels between what
Yes.
happened
Absolutely.
and what is happening.
Absolutely.
You draw those parallels and you understand what I'm saying. And if you know, you know.
And listen, that's a great segue into tonight's show episode. People, we're at episode 49. Can you believe it? Episode number 49. The truth within the code. We're going to be cracking codes. That's what's tonight's show. The truth within the code, cracking the code. And with that, again, welcome. Today, we're delving into the fascinating world of coded messages, from ancient civilizations to modern day espionage, the art of secret communications has captivated minds for centuries. Join us as Big Mike, who's the expert in cryptography. I jacked that all the way up, man. Must be my sinuses, man. I'm telling you. Or know what? You got it's the laughter. Yeah, that's what it is. So
it hit you too hard in the Super Bowl, man. It just got you off the game. I know, it's all good.
It's all good, man.
But you know, we always look at the message behind the message. And if you can see that, you can draw the parallels. If you draw the parallels, you understand. If you understand, then you laugh. And you see, tonight, I am sitting in the darkness, giving up the light.
Message.
It's a message. What's that tell you? Pay attention.
Pay attention. Always pay attention to the details.
It's not the story. It's the story behind the story that you have to pay attention to.
And you know what? There's a story behind the story behind the story behind the story. We're going 3-4 layers deep.
Because we don't play checkers here.
No, we do not.
Chess.
Absolutely. Sorry about that, man.
It's all good.
Yes, sir.
We do that freestyle once in a while. We get a little off topic.
Hey, I love the freestyle. And speaking of which, there was a triple or quadruple entendre of messages during the Super Bowl performance.
Oh my God, the halftime performance. Look, I was reading it 2 layers deep, and I had to go back and research to be able to read the 3rd and 4th layer deep because it was that deep. The message was that wild.
Absolutely.
Don't look at it at the face value and say it was a bad performance.
No.
Look at what the message behind the message and the reality of the message that it was giving you. That's what you have to look at.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And if you want to know, if you're confused about what I'm telling you, is start to do a little homework on that and start to look out the meaning behind and do a little searches and see what's up. You can put your finger on what's going on. Put the pulse on, get your hand on the pulse. Oh, we had a little bit of technical difficulty here happening. Let's see how much that affects our performance tonight. Oh, we may have hit a hot topic, therefore we have technical difficulties. And we're scrolling. So, if you can hear me, and if we're still live, and if we're still on the dance, there we go. Oh my God, just me all by myself. Let's see how I feel lonely now. But it's okay. So, we can talk about briefly here. We'll get started. What's the history of coded messages? So coded communication dates back forever, since man was around. Ancient civilization used simple substitution. It's called a cipher. It's not a complicated term. It just means you're substituting one character for another character in a message. Hey, you're back. We already started. We're already talking about ciphers.
Oh, good.
So I didn't know if we were still streaming or not, but I was like, you know what? We're going to dance.
We're
You'll
definitely
come
still
back
streaming.
eventually.
Oh, I'm glad.
You'll come back. We're already in.
Yes, sir.
We're already in. We're already going to talk about ciphers and substitution ciphers. So a cipher is nothing more or nothing less. A substitution cipher is what occurs. So you shift, for example, I have a letter. The letter is A, and I'm going to use a 3-character cipher. So all that means is instead of me using the letter A in my word, I'm going to go B, C, D. Okay, I move it 3 characters over. A equals a D. And then I start writing my message using that, and that's called the cipher. Once I create the cipher, the other side of the message, all they need is the key. They need to know what is my cipher. Right. Once they know that, they can decrypt the message. It's called, I'll put it in simple terms. I take a message and I lock it. Okay? And I give the message to you. It's got a lock on it. Can anybody get to that without the key? No. And the stronger the lock is, the stronger the cipher is, the harder it is to unlock it without the key. Right. Once you have the key, you unlock it.
Yes.
So when we teach security, we talk about cipher strength. And if I'm going to give you a message over one platform, so I'm going to email you a message, okay? I'm not going to give you the key over the same platform. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my key on a USB stick and put it in FedEx and send it to you. When you get my message over the email, it's locked. But you can take that USB stick, plug it in, you have the key, you can unlock my message. Okay? That's one type of encryption. Encryption is where we lock and unlock messages and data. All right. So ciphering is the mechanism of what we're going to do. So it's like a Rubik's Cube. I go dit, 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 dit. There it is. Hand it to you. If I give you the key, you go dit, 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 dit. You're back to original. Okay? So in simple terms, a cipher is where you can change the message with a recipe. The other side has the same recipe. They can put it back.
Got it.
So if I scramble an egg and send it to you scrambled, you can now unscramble the egg. It's that simple. That's what cryptography is. Okay, so there's tons of complicated. You can go from simple to extremely complicated. So if you're using a simple cipher, it's just easy. We just know dit 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Got it.
Right.
Using a complicated cipher, it's like if I shred cheese and I shred a block of cheese and I tell you I'm going to shred the cheese this way. And you go, okay, good. I can put it back together because I know how you shredded the cheese. But if I shred the cheese 2 directions, one time this way and one time this way, it's a lot more complicated to put it back together. It means a stronger cipher.
Got it.
So the concept's not that hard if you can think about it in common terms. And there are some hardcore, complicated ciphers. Because the more complicated the cipher is, the harder it is to break.
Right.
Can't break it if it's tough.
This is true. So listen, smarts. I hope you guys are paying attention. As always, please take notes for tonight's show. We have some great information there we're going to get out to you. I do apologize for the technical difficulty that I had. It was brief. And since they kept going, so we're moving right along. He just gave you a brief history of coded messages and cipher. So my first question of the night, Mike, how did code breaking evolve?
Okay. Evolution. It's real simple. So there's people who will come up with the most complicated method. And that's I'm going to call that the A side of the equation. So they have all the time in their advantage because they have all the time to create this super complicated message. Then there's entire teams dedicated to unraveling the message. So you say, well, wait a minute. How does that work? So I'll give you an example. If you ever watch some of the prison shows, the prisoners they are allowed to send and receive letters from home, but they all get reviewed by the prison guards. And what would happen is, in order to get a message outside, what you would do is you'd write a letter, and the other side would know what your encryption is, and they would have the key, and they could take a whole letter and pull out of it all the pieces to put together the actual message. So what occurs is that the prisoners would create these complicated messages, and then the guards will be trying to decrypt or break the code, reverse engineer.
Right.
During World War II, one of the things that changed the tide of the war was the Germans had this absolutely crazy encryption we couldn't break. But a submarine got sunk, and there was a machine called an Enigma machine. It was a physical machine that you would pull the lever and you would move mechanical parts to create these ciphers, and then you would create the decryption using this machine. The Germans didn't know it, but we captured and got that machine out of that sunken submarine, and our engineers were able to reverse engineer and find out how that machine worked. Then they were able to take that information and decrypt the messages. So when the Germans sent a message thinking that they're safe, our guys would intercept it, and then they could decrypt it and know. That's how they knew what was going on with D-Day.
Wow.
It turned the tide of World War II because we knew where the Germans were going to go and where they were going to be, and therefore we could put the resources we needed to deal with them. And we could also send messages that would make them think we're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So huge. Imagine that all of that was done with physical machines and pulling levers and turning wheels.
Right.
So have you ever heard of what's called an abacus?
Yes.
It's a little tiny square deal with little beads on it, and you can do complicated math on an abacus. Imagine physically that's what you're doing, and you take a machine which can take that and exponentially make it complicated, okay? So now we, instead of using machines, which are physical, where you pull the lever, turn the dial, we now have computers.
Right.
So we went from a physical world to a logical or virtual world. So we can encrypt virtually, and then we can decrypt virtually. It's in that world.
Right.
It's not a piece of paper in my hand that I can write down something and then look at it. It's all digital. It's all in the computer.
And I'm glad you brought that point up, because I would like us to talk about specifics. What are different types of codes and ciphers, and what are some of the common methods?
So the easiest one to understand, the simplest one to understand, is called substitution cipher. Substitution cipher is where I say, if I go, it's called ROT13. I go in one row, write A through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, okay? Or L, M, N, 13. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. You stop at M. And the next row, it's N through Z. There's 26 letters in our alphabet.
Right.
Split it in half, the first on the top, the second on the bottom. So now if I write a message to you and say, hello, my H equals what the corresponding on the bottom. That's called substitution. I substitute the bottom. So an A would equal an N. Okay?
Yep.
And then reversely, if I was an N in my message, it would become an A. So that's a simple ROT13.
You
rotate
letters with
13.
numbers. Mhm.
Yep. I replace the one with the other, and I can write a message as long as you know what I'm using. If I use ROT 13 plus 1, you know it's instead of an N, it's O. So
Oh,
A would equal O, O would equal F. That's RO 13 plus 1. You see what happens?
yes,
I
sir.
can make it as complicated as I want, but it's a very simple process called substitution cipher. Now,
Mm.
the next type is called transposition. Now, what that is, I take a message of 100 characters long, and I decide to break it down into equal blocks. So each message of 100
Okay.
characters is broken down into 10 characters. So I
Mhm.
got 10 blocks of 10.
Mhm.
Then in each block, I can scramble the block, and I apply that to every block,
Mhm.
and that becomes my message. If you know it's block of 10, scramble this way, what do? Block of 10, unscramble this way.
Scramble.
I have the original message.
Mhm.
That's transposition.
Mm.
It's more complex. If I do transposition and substitution,
Mm.
you see what happens now, right?
Sounds
I'm
like
playing level
hexadecimal.
1. I got
Yeah.
level 2. Now, if I mix them, I'm now at level 3. I can make it super complicated. Now, modern cryptography relies heavily on mathematical algorithms. So what that means is that it uses math and a formula instead of just a simple break it in blocks, do this. It now uses a mathematical formula, applies a formula to every character in the message, and you have to know the formula to get the message back out. That's where computers come in because they can crunch numbers and they can calculate things very quickly.
Mm.
So the next type of cryptography we talk about, and this is what we use all the time when we send and receive emails and we send and receive secure messages. What that is called public key cryptography.
Okay. PKI.
So that means in the world, you have something that the world can see. This is my public.
You're right.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then you have the private, which is you. It's hidden.
Correct.
Nobody knows that one. If I'm going to send you a message, okay, I'm going to encrypt it with my private, send it to you. You're going to then come back using my public key, which you can see, and you're going to decrypt my message. That's how we send messages secure.
Correct.
I encrypt with my private key.
Mhm.
You decrypt with my public key. That way I can do this without having to have a whole bunch of mechanics in between.
Mechanics in between. Yeah.
And that's a simple thing called Diffie-Hellman. It's how we do. It's called a key exchange.
Okay.
It's a type of cryptography. But it works wonderful because we have public encryption, private key for decryption. If I'm going to send you a message, it's pretty awesome. When I draw it out on a nice board when I teach the class,
Right.
you go, oh, that's how that works? Oh, well, I know how that works. Pretty fascinating stuff.
Super fascinating. What about stenography? How is that different from cryptography?
Okay, cryptography is if I take a message and I want to and I'm going to scramble it and you unscramble it. Okay, that's cryptography.
Okay.
Steganography is where I take a message and I hide it inside of a message. So if I take a picture and I hide a picture inside of a picture, the perfect example of that is, have you ever seen watermarks when you go to a website and you see this wonderful image and you want to copy the image and it has the branding diagonally across the message?
Right.
That's steganography.
Okay.
What they do is they have a message in a message. I could take my message because you have to remember any email you send, any picture you have on your computer, every song on your computer, every video on your computer, everything you have on your computer is made up of zeros and ones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not all like this.
Right.
Okay. Every piece of data is separated and sometimes it's a gap. So if I have a picture that I'm going to send to you, and this is the data, in between, there's a gap right there. So I'm going to put a piece of information in this gap. So when you analyze what I send you, you now look for the gaps and you can see the characters I put in the gap. You're not going to see a difference when you see the picture or hear the song or anything about that image or whatever it is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see anything because it's so tiny. But when you grab that entire piece of information, that big chunk of data, and go view it in its raw form, you'll be able to pull out of it those key pieces which create the message. That's called steganography. hiding something within something.
Something. Mm.
That's what that is. That's fascinating stuff.
Super
Because
fascinating.
you're concealing the existence of a message rather than making it unreadable.
Absolutely.
So back in the day, if you ever read newspapers,
Mhm.
and they would have a
Those
crossword
puzzles?
puzzle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you could go through the puzzle, and
Mhm.
then any pieces of the puzzle that didn't fit was the actual characters that you could use to put together the message. You could solve the message.
Right. That movie, Beautiful Mind, which was one of my
Oh.
favorite movies. Oh man, love that movie. And Russell Crowe was he did superb.
Mhm.
Movie won a lot of awards, but there were a lot of messages and within messages in that movie. And oh man, I just loved it. Question:
Yes,
how do
sir.
code breakers approach their work?
Okay, so back in the day, when I talk back in the day, I'm talking about before computers. Okay,
Mhm.
that's called the day.
The
The day is computers. Back in the day is before computers. Okay,
Mhm.
pre-computers. You would identify patterns and frequencies of letters and symbols, exploiting the weaknesses in the design of the cipher. So it's called frequency analysis.
Mm.
That's a classic technique for breaking these substitution ciphers. So in the day, there were certain crypto puzzles that you could go in a newspaper, and if you could figure them out and submit your answer to the newspaper to get a prize, a 3-letter agency would get a hold of you and offer you a job. That's how it worked. That's why they were in the newspaper. It was a recruiting tool to find code breakers.
Right.
People who could see a pattern
Mhm.
and pull a message out of nothing. Once you had that skill in your mind that you could do that, a 3-letter organization would offer you a job. That's why those were in the newspapers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Because you had the ability of seeing what wasn't there.
Right.
So that made you a good code breaker.
Mhm.
So
Seeing through the layers.
you see through the layers.
Mhm.
And like I said, those are all tools that were used to find people who could have the natural ability to see things, to see
Right.
scrambled eggs and see the actual egg. If I look at a bowl of scrambled eggs and I can actually see the eggs,
Mhm.
that's a special skill.
And to go even further, now you can see the two chickens that made the egg.
Woo!
Boom.
Now you're next layer, next level. I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Sure. Man, thank you for that. What are some of the challenges in code breaking?
So some of the challenges are volume
Mhm.
of data, right?
Mm.
Look, if I throw 10 things at you, that's fine. I
Okay.
got 10 things. That's it. If I throw 10 million things at you,
Mm.
it's just sheer volume. It's noise. Look, if we're in a room and the music's playing softly, I can still hear the conversations. But if I'm in a concert hall and there's the big speakers all up around me and I'm in the front row, I look at you and you're standing right next to me. I can scream at you. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Absolutely not.
No, but you can maybe read my lips. You see,
Yeah.
now we're talking code breaking, right?
Right.
You're going to read my lips. You can't see what I'm saying. You can hear it because there's so much noise, but you can read my lips and you have an idea what I'm saying. That's code breaking. That's the challenges. How do you sift through the noise? There's so much volume.
Mm.
And
There's a trending word that I'm glad you mentioned that. Sift through the noise. Flooding the gate.
flood the gate. And
Yeah.
if the tools are appropriate, they can close the gate so they don't get overwhelmed.
Mm. Yeah.
Indeed.
Indeed.
So it's challenging. It's like an arms race.
Okay.
The code makers are developing new methods, and the code breakers are always trying to find it. How do I get in? What is that? I've never seen that before. Let's find out how to break it. So who's always ahead of the game? The bad guys or the good guys?
That's a great question. That's a perspective. Who's good? Who's bad?
Right. So let's just, in the context of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to treat this the same way as I treat other things. So, and it can go both directions, but we're going to use this perspective so we get an understanding of the next part of the conversation.
Okay.
Let's say the people encrypting are the bad guys.
Gotcha.
All right, they have all the time in the world to create the encryption.
Mm-hmm.
I'm under the gun to break it.
Right.
They already have it. It's already out there, and I'm trying to. Here they are. They're going like this, and I'm trying to catch them. You see, I try to catch the bad guys. So we treat that in the same way with creating viruses. The same way we talk about when we talk about ransomware. All these things we talk about when it comes to cybersecurity and what's happening in our world. I'm going to say the bad guys are usually at it first, and the good guys are trying to play catch up.
Man, here we go. You just brought up something very significant. We've had 0-day attacks. And I know this is not really a part of what we're talking about, but it is a part of what we.
Right. So let me tell you what actually is a 0-day attack.
Mm-hmm.
The bad guy creates something. Okay. I'll use this hand. The bad guy creates something. Nobody knows about it yet.
Right.
When it goes out in the world and punches somebody in the face, they go, hey, I just got hit with this. And it's like a flu. It's a new version of the flu. Right. Nobody knows what it is. It's called 0-day. There's no protection against it. You're just going to get punched in the face until you know how to block it.
Block it. Yep.
The good guys come in and they go, oh, let's take a look at that. And they start disassembling it and all. Now you're still getting punched in the face until they can eventually go, hey, we got that. You're not getting punched in the face no more. See? Huh? You're getting punched. Boom, boom, boom. Until, we now figured that one out. Right. So the good guys are going to always be behind the bad guys. A 0-day is there is no definition. There's no signatures. There's nothing. This is brand new. And there is no protection against it. That's a 0-day.
Well, Mike, the way my brain works, I have to ask, what if there's a situation where we have multiple 0-day attacks on multiple fronts? How
we live in that world right now.
Yeah.
So this is why you have what's called layered protection. That's like an onion. Okay. So if I'm in the world's a dirty place.
Right.
The internet is a septic tank. You're going to stick your hand in a septic tank every day. If I have no protection, I pull my hand out of a septic tank. What's it smell like? It smell like poo.
Ooh.
Okay. Right. So I put a glove on.
Right.
That's one glove. And I can use that glove, let's say antivirus. Okay, good. That protects me against viruses. And I put my hand in every day. And what happens? One day, something's going to get past my antivirus and I'm going to, smell like poo.
Right.
So now I have to have a firewall. What's a firewall? It's a hardware device. There's two kinds, hardware, software. So I put a hardware device that goes, you don't get through unless I want you to get through. So I'm stopping the big rocks. And then my local firewall stops the little rocks. So I'm trying to minimize what actually poo is coming at me.
Coming out, right.
And then I'm trying to protect myself with layer upon layer upon layer. I wear 5 or 6 gloves. So when I put my hand in a septic tank and I pull it out and take my gloves off, got a clean hand. One day, though, you have to understand with 0-day, one day you're going to smell like poop. That's the reality of the world we live in. You're gonna smell like poo.
Smell like
because
poo
because you are in the septic tank.
Yes.
You can't clean the septic tank. You're in the septic tank.
You're in it, right?
You're gonna smell like poo one day, and it's just that simple. So what do you do in that situation? You go, I'm gonna smell like poo. Oh my god, it's terrible. It's bad. Oh my god. Mitigate and minimize the impact of the poo. I don't want my entire arm covered in poo.
Right.
But if it's only on my finger, well, I can wash my finger.
Yeah.
I just don't want my whole arm covered in poo. I don't want to go for a swim in the poo.
Thanks for the poo.
Thanks for the poo.
Right.
But that's where that's where it is. That's the challenges in the world, because there's so much happening. You have to protect yourself against layer upon layer upon layer. Now, you want to take a note? There's easy ways and there's hard ways. Some of the easy ways are you can protect yourself with a hardware firewall.
Right.
Even you say, well, I don't need that. I'm at home. Okay, that's
Mhm.
fine. That's great. That's wonderful. But guess what? You're going to smell like poo one day. So you put a hardware firewall at home, and there's cheap ways to do it or expensive ways to do it. The next thing you do is say, okay, I got a hardware firewall in place. Good. I have a decent antivirus, and do not use one of the big three: McAfee, Norton, Trend, because they get attacked first. Don't use the top three. Find a different one. There's other options out there that work very well, and they're cost effective. Now, I'm an IT admin. I use one called ESET. Okay. And it is a very complicated product, but it's for my level where I'm at, it works wonderful.
Okay.
So I use that in the business environment because it works fantastic and stops, oh my God, amount of things is crazy. And it also has intelligence where it figures out, oh, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to block it anyway. And then, but I don't depend on one thing. Got a hardware firewall. I got this ESET antivirus, which is phenomenal. And then I add on it Malwarebytes. Now, if I only use one thing and I'm a home user, I'm going to use Malwarebytes. I'll use my Windows Defender, which is not bad, and I'm going to add on top of that Malwarebytes. Make a note. That's a good product. And it's evolved with the times. So the place you're going to get attacked most nowadays is in your web browser, which your Chrome, your Edge, your Mozilla, your DuckDuckGo, all your browsers, your Safari. That's where you're going to get attacked from. Malwarebytes has what's called a plugin, which protects your browser. So that product is amazing, cost effective, works great. So if you're home user, do the personal version. If you're a business user, look to get a business version, and it works phenomenal. It's a great product. That protects you because your online transactions that you're using, online banking, you're doing shopping, you're getting tickets online where you're buying travel tickets, you're searching for Facebook Marketplace and you're trying to buy things, and you're out on Amazon and you're at Home Depot and you're at Office Depot and you're all these places you're buying all this stuff. You better be protected.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have to make sure that the websites you go to are good. And the way you do that is you go to the lock. When you go to a website, there's a lock in every browser you can see. It says HTTPS, and there's a little picture of a lock. Click the lock and make sure that it's a good, valid, trusted certificate. What that means is that if it's the date of the certificate is the same date of expiration, that's not a good certificate.
Correct. Ladies and gentlemen, if you need information on securing your devices, please hit up the Sensei. Please. He has the information. He has the knowledge. He has the resources. Please hit him up. Please. I beg of you. And take notes.
Take notes.
Take notes.
And we've talked about a lot of this stuff during previous sessions. Absolutely. So if you really want to know what's going on, go back to the beginning where we started this stuff and start listening how to protect yourself.
Exactly. And I just reposted that. So go check out that broadcast, old to us, new to you, rebroadcast. As moving on, can you describe other modern uses for codes?
Oh, of course. You're protecting your sensitive information. So if I lock the information, the other side unlocks it, it's protected. So again, you're in the septic tank. I have a beautiful little marshmallow that's pretty and white and clean and nice, and it's not dirty, nothing's touched it. And I have to dip it in poo. But I want to be able to go on the other side of that and be able to eat the marshmallow. Do I want to eat poo? No. I encapsulate or put a Ziploc bag around my marshmallows, and then when I'm pushing it through the poo, on the other side, you open the bag and nothing touched my marshmallow. It's a nice, clean marshmallow. So that's what it's for. It protects our sensitive data as it travels through the internet, through the world. It's for privacy and security. And we rely on that. We rely heavily on security because
indeed we do.
We already know that all the social security numbers and almost every person's in this country's personal information has already been compromised.
I don't know
we
why
talked about this in previous sessions. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lock all 3 credit agencies,
Mm-hmm.
verify your title of your house doesn't get touched. All these things you have to do to protect yourself. Because in
Right.
today's world, if somebody already has the information, they can hack you. My brother, who is turning, I think he's 62 this year.
Okay.
So he's right at the age of getting ready to get Social Security. He got a message from the Social Security Administration saying, hey, if you click this link, we can finalize your online Social Security preference. He never went online for Social Security.
Wow.
Somebody was already, before he became eligible for Social Security, was hacking him with enough personal information to try to create an online account to get his Social Security benefit.
Wow.
I told him immediately, you must go, don't call, physically go to the Social Security office today. Walk in with your face, your ID, prove who you are to them, and say, hey, somebody tried to hack me. What can I do? And they said, we are going to put a flag and freeze your account that nobody can touch it until you walk back in this door to unlock your account. Because his Social Security could have been stolen and he couldn't have done anything about it. By the time he filed for Social Security, guess what? It would have already been taken by somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody else would have already had the Social Security. That's what happens in today's world. And that's a firsthand, this is what truly does happen.
Yeah. The world full of poo.
The world's full of poo. And nasty people who want to steal from you. There's only so many Social Security numbers, and we have computers. And there's enough public information already out there that if I know your name, I can know 9 of the 10 things I need to steal your identity like this.
Just
so
like
stealing your identity is simple in today's world.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yep. Imagine what it would be like 10 years from now.
Well, 10 years, heck no, they don't even go 10.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
No, 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Our technology isn't growing like this. Our technology right now is doing this.
Yep, that part right there. Yep.
Right? So we're vertically hitting it. So you say, okay, if we're vertically hitting it, and we have these computers which are so smart, and we're creating the good guys and the bad guys, and they're fighting each other. And we have this encryption, this wonderful thing that we keep everything safe, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful. So let's say all of that's on a flat piece of paper.
Okay.
And you write on a piece of paper. Now that's the rules of the game. Everything's on a piece of paper, okay? I treat that a certain way. That's called two-dimensional. I can go front, back, left, and right. That's two-dimensional, right? One piece of paper, one flat piece of paper, okay? That's our current, think of that as our current cryptography. That's current. That's what we're doing right now. What we do right now in all of our security across the entire globe is two-dimensional. Now, imagine this. Imagine now the tools are now three-dimensional.
Now they can see through.
So your two-dimensional is nothing compared to three-dimensional. One-dimensional is a single line.
Single line.
The difference between one-dimensional and two-dimensional is crazy. And your mind goes, oh my God, I have a whole paper to write on.
Right.
Great. Now imagine you go a sphere, three-dimensional. That's called the quantum apocalypse. That's where AI combines with quantum computing, and we go from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. All of our encryption we have, all of our security we have, and everything is just absolutely wiped out in seconds.
Wow.
Now, how are we protecting against that? Smart people already know that's coming. And the day that comes is called the quantum apocalypse. So how do we protect against that?
Okay.
Smart people are already leveraging AI and trying to leverage quantum computing to come up with solutions for the next type of encryption.
Gotcha.
The three-dimensional is being developed as we speak. What's going to happen is, hopefully, this three-dimensional is put in place before this three-dimensional takes out the two-dimensional.
Makes sense.
So the big boys are thinking, oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
And they're working real hard right now to create a quantum resilient cryptography.
Reminds me of the planning we did before 2K. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, we always any I find it fascinating that this topic always comes up no matter what our subject is. Ethics.
Mm.
What
Well,
are
because
ethical considerations?
ethics are the rules which guide us.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we talked about if you want to know ethics,
Mm-hmm.
let's let Hollywood teach us.
Who?
Hollywood will teach us what's happening with the world of ethics.
I heard you the first time.
All right. TV
Yeah.
show called Person of Interest. We've talked
Mhm.
about this, where there's the
Mhm.
machine, there's Samaritan. The
Right.
machine was constrained by ethics. It had ethics. Samaritan had no ethics. So who's going to win? Samaritan wins. Let's take that and put it in today's
Oh,
terms.
I'm glad you mentioned that
Because we have ChatGPT and all of our AIs in that.
Yep.
And then the corresponding ChatGPT is bound by ethics.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfettered, unrestricted, designed to do nothing but gather data and compromise data is DeepSeek.
Now, with that, I just read an article. It's about to be banned.
Of course it's going to be banned.
I read that right before we went live.
But guess what? You can ban it here,
Mm-hmm.
and every place else around you
Yeah.
has it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oops.
That's not the right posture.
Mm.
You need to unrestrict yours to fight on the same playing field.
Ooh.
Take off the shackles.
Oh, and you know what?
Listen to me. Take off the shackles if you want to fight a fair fight.
Hollywood. Avengers. Which one was it? When they had the was it Avengers 2? What was the robot name that came from the AI system that Tony Stark's had made, which had the barrier and the restrictions? The other one was created, had no restrictions, and it overtook that one. Yeah. You remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah, which Avengers? I can't. Well, which Avengers was that?
Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Well, we know what was the one who had the in his forehead. What was his name?
Why am I drawing blank? I know these characters. I'm surrounded by them. I don't. Yeah, him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could always look it up.
I'm asking it right
Vision.
now.
Vision was his name. Yes. Vision was the good guy.
And our answer is Ultron.
Ultron. Boom. There we have
Vision had the constraints and was bound by a code of honor and respect and truth.
Right.
Ultron had no restrictions.
Mm-hmm. And look what Ultron was able to do until they corrected Vision. Yeah.
Vision was controlled by the Mind Stone and was a more controlled and ethical AI compared to Ultron's had no restrictions.
No restrictions. Yep. And life imitating art. Again.
Well, look, Hollywood's going to tell us what's coming.
Absolutely. All the
time.
time.
Have to pay attention and see it.
Oh yeah. And it's not only just in the movies.
No.
It's in the video games too.
No, it's everything.
It's in everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
So you say with the ethical considerations, the ethical considerations are security and privacy. They're juxtaposed. They're against each other. If I want more security, I tend to have less privacy. If I want more privacy, I tend to have less security. So law enforcement and the challenges for protecting privacy is huge because it's like, okay, do I have access to everything and I can see everything that you do and I now know everything about you? And if you think you're going to do something bad, Minority Report, then I'm already going to prosecute you for a crime you haven't committed yet. Don't think that's coming. So you know what I'm saying? So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't know what I'm talking about. Because guess what?
Mhm.
With AI and the advent, they can tell right now within 1 year where you're going to be we're at next year and what you're going to be doing with an accuracy will blow your mind. I, as a general, giggles and grins because I'm always delving into the deep darkness of the darkness, because that's why I'm sitting in the dark tonight. I like to delve a little just to learn what's happening in the world. And so I like to challenge the AI and say to the AI, all of the questions that I've asked you and everything that I've talked to you about, everything that I've done, you now can have an idea about how I think. And I ask it that question, and I ask it to lay out how it thought that I think. And it was scary as hell.
Well, yeah, I bet.
And I was like, oh. And then I say in my mind, I go, you only know what I want you to know. You see? Remember this.
Right.
If you are multifaceted, and
Mhm.
you know that you're multifaceted, and I only show you this facet, then you know nothing more than what I show you.
Right.
And if you know, you know.
Then you know. Man,
The world we live in.
the world we live in. Well, man, I think that is this is another amazing one right here.
It's good because it's relevant to what's happening around us.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
cannot sit blindly while
Mhm.
things change around you. You must be fluid enough and adaptable enough to adapt to the current changes. Well, let's take the template and apply it backwards. If you take the template and apply it backwards, you look at during the Industrial Revolution, where we went from hand labor to
Right.
factory production. If
Right.
you were someone who understood that concept and got it, you were ahead of the power curve. And if you're ahead of the power curve, you survived and thrived. Otherwise, you were in the soup line.
Yeah.
So
You got a backwards plan.
take the
Absolutely.
same template and apply it
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of what's coming, you can't prepare for it.
True.
So you better learn what's coming so that
Mhm.
at least you're prepared, so that you're not in the soup line. Because that's going to lead us into our next one: how to future-proof yourself from the AI revolution.
Mm.
Now listen to me now. How to future-proof yourself during the time of the AI revolution. Because just like we had the Industrial Revolution, we are going to have, and we are having,
Having right
the
now.
AI revolution.
Now. Yes.
Look, Intel and Dell have already fired, they laid off between the two of them over 30,000 people because they can replicate their
Mm.
jobs with AI. And you think it's bad there? We've talked about this in previous sessions. Doctors.
Yeah.
Look,
did.
you trust a virtual visit. What happens if I replicate? Whoop, doctor's no longer there. AI is there.
Yes, sir.
So what industries are future proof? And that is a beautiful subject.
Now, my smarts, I need y'all right now in this moment, because that's going to be episode number 52, 51 or 52. But start doing your own research. Get you a AI application, an AI platform. Start plugging in information about yourself and ask AI that very specific question.
Here's my skill set. How do I future proof in the advent of AI?
That's how
It'll
you
tell you.
It
It'll
will.
tell you.
It will tell you. It will tell you.
If I
That's your
say
homework.
this is my skill set, this is what I do in the advent of AI, how can I become relevant? How can I leverage what I know so I'm not left behind? Tell
Right.
it that, just like that. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to tell you how to protect yourself in the
Mhm.
world of AI.
And they would do it in script form.
Now you got to be smart enough to know how to
Boom.
ask the question.
Smart. Yeah, that's
Tell
it. You
it,
got
give me bullet points, give me high points, and then once you start
Mhm.
seeing that skeleton, say fill in the blanks. How do I do
Yeah.
this? How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? There you go.
There you go. That's how you do it. Future AI proofing yourself. for the AI
revolution.
Well, that's our show for tonight. You have any closing remarks, my good sir?
It's, time used to happen so slowly, and things used to take so long. And historically in IT, we would always plan for a 5-year plan. So in a 5-year plan, by the time that you buy new hardware and 5 years comes, the hardware is obsolete and it's coming to end of life, physically and virtually. So now you're buying new hardware for the next 5 years. And so during that 5 years, you're planning for the next 5 years. So everything technology has been based on a 5-year plan. But you need to understand, in this world, the way things are happening, we are not on a 5-year timeline anymore. You can cut that in half.
Yes.
And in the next 2.5 years, guess what? You can cut it in half again. So take the template and be smart enough to know what's coming.
Absolutely.
Let me put it this way. When Microsoft themselves rebrand Microsoft Office and call it Copilot, and what's Copilot? Their AI. When they rebrand their Microsoft Office product, which is everywhere, that means AI is now built into everything. So you don't think that it's going to affect you?
Absolutely. Yep.
This is where the golf ball of AI knowledge and the basketball of human knowledge are going to reverse in 5 years.
Correct.
Human knowledge.
You know what?
AI is this.
To go along with that, as we close up, you're going to, and this is my opinion, and ladies and gentlemen, these are all opinions. We're not smart, and this is for entertainment purposes only. I believe we're going to start seeing a transition in entertainment and how entertainment is portrayed. And we're going to start seeing more ethical based shows, or shows based on ethics and things of that nature, because I just got a feeling about that, man. I don't want to go in too deep about why I believe that, but I just got a feeling.
I believe that content creation is the battlefield right now, because we consume so much content. We don't have the ability of creating content fast enough for the demand. So what is going to happen? We're going to see more and more AI generated content. And as AI gets smarter and more efficient, it's going to replace content creation. So content creation is no longer come from the humans. It's going to come from the AI. Because here's the thing, with enough big data and number crunching, AI knows what you want already. So therefore, it's going to create content based on what you want. It's going to give you more of what you want than a human content creator. That's where we're headed.
Wow. That's deep. Y'all don't hear what he said, but he said a mouthful, and it is deep. Very deep. If you don't understand that, go back and watch it. And listen, we are on the precipice of these moments right now.
We are in the revolution.
We're in it. Go like, share, subscribe the channel, subscribe the content, like and share it. Get the message out there. There are people who need to hear it. They don't know where to go.
And we will give you this information. No charge. We don't want anything for it. We just want you to know.
And we're not getting paid.
We spread the wealth. We spread the knowledge. Because if we educate and can help others to educate themselves, then we have done a Johnny Appleseed and we planted trees.
That's it.
And that's all we're trying to do. We're planting seeds.
People.
Plant seeds.
Before we go, episode 50, special guest, Sydney Evans, new platform. Sundays, myself when I'm here or rebroadcast. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, Sensei. Guest shows, Thursday. So we're going to be running Sunday. You can see us. Tuesday, you can see us. And Thursday. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great night. We love you. Peace, love, and woo.